look, it's on. Really? I don't need the mic? No. From the beginning. We're going to start from the beginning. Welcome to the, no, I'm not going to start the beginning. Nobody panic. So anyway, so as you can see, the idea here is the appropriate business person goes off and simply sends an email in. He tags it with the appropriate subject, all right, meaning the deal name. It comes in, does a validation, automatically builds that folder structure, and then from there, it sends a notification out to the deal team. All right? Now, a lot of this stuff you're seeing in this slide is obviously a combination of a lot of what Alfresco does. What we've done is surface it or modularize it, if you will, in the sense that, you know, when we go to different clients, certain things get configured. But of course, what we're taking advantage of on the front end is the ability to email enable a folder, which we probably all know about. All right? The idea of rules and being able to build that folder structure. All right? And then, of course, sending notifications out with a link to that folder so people can access that deal. So essentially, all we did to start this thing is somebody sent an email off with a subject, and the rest all happens automatically, which quite frankly is the only way in the financial services world you're going to get a guy to start this process. Okay? We spent a lot of time, you know, years back trying to get these guys to touch the system, and yeah, anyway, that's a conversation at the bar with beer and pretzels and all that other stuff. But the net of it is, email in, the whole thing gets built out. Now you'll notice you'll see folder names here. We'll touch base on that. But the idea is when that folder structure is built out, we want to make sure that when they drop documents in here, the appropriate metadata is assigned. Remember, because we talked about the idea that says they are not going to sit here and edit metadata. So we'll talk about how we manage that process as well. All right. Now, another way is the idea of working inside Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. For those of you who are hopefully in the keynote, if you weren't in the keynote, do not raise your hand again, because that would be a bad thing. So we're going to pretend you all were in the keynote. This is a little different, and we'll show you a video and can do a demonstration if you want. But this is a little more advanced sort of Office integration, if you will. So what we've had for the last few years, and it continues to evolve, and pieces of it get more and more pushed to the web, if you will, all right, in terms of where the application stores. But the idea is from Excel, okay, from Word, from PowerPoint, the user is able to save documents into Alfresco in one screen, be able to assign the metadata, and be able to also navigate through the repository. Now what's nice, again, capitalizing on the world of rules in Alfresco, when they're sitting in Excel and they drop the document into the models folder, it automatically assigns metadata. Okay? And the idea here is they're already used to, right, being on the shared drive and, you know, picking the right folder, their models folder, their whatever. Here, we're taking advantage of the ability to assign the metadata automatically. Okay? So that's the idea behind this. We want to make sure they can automatically get or easily get the documents in and then automatically assign that metadata. And the same premise for Word as well as for PowerPoint. All right? So in this example, again, we're focused on the idea that says, I want to get documents in, I can email, or right from here, their Office applications, I can get documents in and have that metadata automatically assigned. And again, we'll touch a little bit. I've got a nice video I can show you guys. It's about 2 minutes long to show you how that process works. We're also going to touch a little bit on the idea of working with comparison tools and so forth in reference to Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Primarily, we're going to show you 2 videos, one with PowerPoint and one with Word. One of the things you always hear about when guys are negotiating back and forth, okay, is if I'm working with a Word document, you've got that idea of comparing the two. And sometimes when you're outside negotiating back and forth, these guys are not big into using track changes because remember, it's not really in their best interest to help you figure out what's changed in the contract. So we're going to touch base a little bit on an integration, okay, between Word, Alfresco, and a product called Workshare to do that diff work. And we'll show you that. Also the concept of PowerPoint with pitch books, okay? So if you're going back and forth with pitch books, doing comparisons onto PowerPoints, building that new PowerPoint, and sending it back into the repository, all right? So we're going to touch base on that. Now, the next thing I'm going to give you a quick piece on is the idea, of course, which I'm hoping you guys are familiar with, the idea of dragging and dropping documents into Alfresco, right? Not that big a deal, right? I can go off, select a bunch of documents, and drag them right into a folder structure. In this case, Raptor is the name of my folder structure. It's the data room piece where I'm dragging these things in. And of course, we all know what happens at the end of this story. It automatically assigns the metadata. All right? Again, a keynote. Because guys are used to doing the dragging and dropping. They can work with all that stuff. But the idea is automatically assign that metadata. That's the big thing you want to keep in mind with these very patient, charming individuals in financial services. Okay? Now, another nice thing is if you guys are familiar all with FTP clients, say like FileZilla, all right? one of the things that happens in a deal data room, okay, or in a deal, is the deal data room. What that is, for those who are not in financial services, is they give you a big zip file full of files, okay, or you download them off another system. This is actually not just a zip list of files, it's a whole folder structure, okay? So you've got who knows how many folders deep of this folder structure that you need to now put somewhere, okay? You're not going to tell an analyst he's going to manually build that whole folder structure in Alfresco, okay? He will beat you, okay? But the question is, how do I get that complete folder structure into Alfresco so when he goes into data room in Alfresco, he sees all that same folder structure. And with the beauty of Alfresco and FTP clients, you can actually drag that entire folder structure that he just dropped right into Alfresco, and it'll rebuild that entire folder structure. Okay? So that way the analysts can go off, and when they go into Alfresco, whether it's through an Office client or through Share, all right, that entire folder structure will be built out. Okay? I think that was one of the coolest things as far as the underwriter and analyst guys were excited about is when they said, how do I populate the data room? Please don't make me build the folders. One of them actually began to weep. Okay? But when we showed them how you could just drag it in and it built the whole folder structure out, then it was, you know, tears of joy as opposed to sadness. So it worked out pretty well. All right? But the key thing is to be able to get that whole big structure into the repository. And then from a searching perspective, you know, he could search on the deal name and then data room. And of course, as you guys all know, he could search on the file name in conjunction with that, as well as full text searching. All right? So it gives him a lot, you know, not nicer capability in order to get that stuff in there and to work with it. All right? Now, the next thing I want to show you is that concept of quickly available documents. This is an example, okay, of a little dashlet. All right, I hope you've seen a dashboard before with Alfresco. Again, yes, I've all seen dashboards because you guys are brilliantly familiar with Alfresco, so that's the good news. All right, here's an example of a dashboard. All right, you see things like you'd expect to see, the idea of my workflow items, you know, my tasks, that kind of stuff. You want to see new workflows. An example, remember how I talked about the notifications when a new deal or project or case shows up? It could kick off a workflow. Here's an example. I will tell you the realities of this. It's very nice, you know, in the demo to show you the new deal piece. And I think in some of the project work we've done, it's worked. On the financial services guys, you're not necessarily going to send them to a whole other interface from an inbox. So I'm showing you this because depending on who's here in terms of deals versus projects versus case, that may be a very useful thing. The financial services guys will look at their email quickly, and they want to see an email, they want to click a link, and it takes them right to where the documents are, which is that notification we talked about earlier. So you can automatically get to that folder where those documents are. But there are some areas where the idea of an email, a workflow automatically created would be nice. Now, this is a little dash that we built, okay, a while back. We've, you know, reconfigured it for various uses. You've got the metadata down the side, which due to this exciting resolution is easily seen by everybody from the front row to the back row, I imagine, right? You can see that with no problem, right? Yeah, so of course. So this is your metadata. These are data lists, okay, your drop-down values you can put in here, all right, different metadata for different pieces. I hit search. From there, I get my result set, all right? And you'll notice in the result set, you've got a number of fields. These metadata fields, all of them, remember, never added by the user. They all got assigned by virtue of either emailing it in or dragging and dropping the documents into the appropriate folder, all right? So there was never any real work done in terms of adding that metadata. They're working with folders now. They're familiar with folders. They like folders. Okay, use the folders. But they give them the ability to then search based on all this metadata by virtue of dropping it in the folder. So in this example, you've got these two columns here, again, easily seen. You've got Raptor for deal name, and then you've got here, you've got the different document names and so forth. You can either click on the deal name, it'll take you to the folder, or click on the document name, that'll take you straight to the details page of the document. The most important thing about this, and this is the thing we talked about earlier, is the guys want to see what documents they have right now. Because in a deal team, usually not a big deal team, 3, 4 people, you know, sometimes a little more, all right? Different people are populating their repository. And although they're friendly and loving people, they usually don't tell each other when they put new documents in there. So what we find is the guys literally stay on this page. They use this to know what documents showed up, okay? So they can easily see what documents showed up, all right? And again, they're seeing what documents showed up with the metadata that they did not have to, you know, assign themselves, all right? Yes, each one of the columns is sortable. So you click on a column, it'll sort on that particular column. Okay, one at a time, but it will sort on that column. And again, you know, this is a configurable piece in the sense that obviously based on your situation, it would depend on what metadata you'd want to appear here. All right? But again, the key things to take away, if you will, from this piece right here is the idea that says, okay, I get it, Adam. I email documents in, all right, by virtue of that subject name, I got a deal name created, perhaps validated. It built out a whole folder structure. Isn't that glorious? All right. Then from there, I drag documents in over time, all right, or I save documents via Office. Metadata automatically assigned, and I can easily see, what documents I've got for that particular, again, in this case, deal, could be project or what have you. Okay? Any questions? Pretty simple stuff, isn't it? Okay, cool. All right. Now, what I'm also going to show you, we'll talk a little bit. I'm going to show you a couple of videos, a couple of demos on some of these pieces, all right? And then we'll talk a little bit about the components about it. Because again, I know we've got a sort of a mixed group here. So what I want to do is make sure everybody gets, sort of good value of the situation. What I mean by that is can really get a handle on what we did and how we did it. Because, of course, this is absolute genius done by MicroStrategies. I have to say that by law, all right? But a lot of this stuff, we've got pre-built components and other stuff you guys, can also work with. So let me drag over my exciting video, okay? And of course, I'm being a little liberal with the word exciting, all right? Now, in this example of this video, what we're going to show you real quick is the idea that says, I want to be able to save documents and compare those documents in Word. So I will go back to my video. All right. And I will hit play. All right. So, okay. All right. So this is the idea. I'm in Word. Hopefully you guys are familiar with Word. Okay. A document just came in via email, as you can see right there. All right. The idea being I want to be able to take this document that just showed up via email, open that document up, and be able to save it, back into the repository. So here it is, okay? Quickly read it. It's the Alfresco master agreement, okay? From here, I go off and I go to File. You'll notice a couple of things like Save to Alfresco and Open from Alfresco, all right? I hit Save to Alfresco, and if I could just pause for a minute, all right? This is that interface we were talking about. Little more involved in the sense that metadata is here, whether it's your custom metadata or out-of-the-box metadata. Depends on what you guys have set up, all right? You've got your folder structure down the left-hand side, all right? That's that folder structure that is built out in Alfresco based on what you can see. Other things, if you'll forgive me for walking across, all right? You can search on sites and folders from here. So you can enter a site name or a folder name to get to what needs to be here, all right? Up here, easily seen with this lovely resolution, is favorite sites and favorite folders. So if you have a favorite site or a favorite folder by virtue of the deal or project you're working on, you can click on that, and that's what will appear here, all right? So the idea is the user can quickly get to where they need to be in order to save that document in, all right? So in this example, this is the document I'm going to save as. So I go off and I select that document, all right? And here I am clicking it with no hands. It's pretty good, huh? And when I've clicked that document, at this point in time, I can go off and save it. So what did I just do? Let's pause for a minute. I opened the document via email, right? So it popped up on the email. I hit Save to Alfresco. I basically said, I want the document that's up on Word right now to be the latest version of that document in the repository, right? So that's what I'm doing, if you will. Otherwise known as upload new version, if you will, right? So I select that document. I hit Save. It asks me if I want to do a minor or major version, okay? So that critical business decision, yes, that was sarcasm, is made at this point in time. I can go off and put some comments on that. So I can enter my comments. And this is obviously, from the client. So I'll say from the client. I'll click OK. And now what I've done is I basically saved that document right into Alfresco as the latest version of the document that was in there. Now what's nice is now I want to compare that document. Because remember, what was the idea here? This document just showed up, right, via email. I've saved it into the repository. I've got it in from the client. So now I go back and I say, OK, let's go to my recent documents, tab at the top. I click on that. Notice previous version pops up. All right, when I click on previous versions, we all know what happens. It shows me previous versions. All right, so what I did, as we talked about, is you saw that Browse tab initially. That was with the folder structure on the left-hand side and all that other stuff. In this case, I hit Recent Documents. These are the last of the documents that I, as a login user, worked on. Now, a couple things you're going to notice, I'm sure. You're going to notice, well, Adam, that's Word, but that's a PowerPoint icon, and that's a PDF icon. What the heck? What's nice about the integration is sometimes when users are working with documents, they think they know what the format was when they saved it, but they just know it was the last one they worked on. The way the Office integration works is if it happened to have been the PowerPoint they wanted to work on, we all know what happens when you're in Word and you open a PowerPoint file. It looks like, well, not Word or PowerPoint, okay? In the integration, if I click on the PowerPoint and open it up, it will fire up PowerPoint and open up that document. So for whatever reason, if you accidentally, didn't realize that, oh, that was a PowerPoint I worked on, or a PDF I worked on, No worries. You would select from that recent documents, and it would open that up. Okay? This was a huge feature for those lovely patient financial services guys that are perfectly fine saying, oh, no problem. Let me close this, open up my Word or my PowerPoint, and then open up the file. So we want to make sure that from any of the interfaces, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Adobe, they can go off and open up that file. Okay? So in this case, it was the Word document I previously done. It's a metadata across the side. Here's my version history, version numbers, dates and so forth, comments and so forth. I will go off and select the two versions I want to compare. The one that just showed up and the previous one. Notice the compare button pops up. Okay, now it's available. I click on compare, and what it does is it automatically fires up a program called Workshare. Workshare is a comparison tool, widely known in the legal community. I don't know if anybody here has heard of Workshare, but it's widely known in the legal community as one of the tools. Now, do you have to use Workshare? No, it's not a federal law that you use Workshare. We can use the word compare as well, equally as well. All right. Just that a lot of the legal side we work with, they have the high-end compare tool. So for the demo video, I went off and put the compare thing in for Workshare. All right. So it goes off. It makes a copy of it, if you will, or compares the two copies. All right. Tells you the differences down the left-hand side, as you can see, and you can pick the different pieces that you want to keep. You know, which ones you want to have, which ones you don't want to have. All right. Now the idea is once you're done with all this comparison stuff, analysis, and so forth, what you want to be able to do is take that red line version. That's this one, right? Because you see you've got a little new there. Now you could turn around, hit Save to Alfresco. Now notice when I hit Save to Alfresco, all right, it comes right back to that document that we were just working on. All right. So now what I'm going to do is by virtue of that red line copy I now have, all right, that compared copy, I will save that into Alfresco. All right. I'll make it a major change because now this is the comparison between the two pieces, and I will say this is my red line version. I click OK, and then life is good. So again, the idea in this example is to give you guys a flavor for it's one thing to open and close documents, which of course is very exciting, but a lot of times when you're dealing with a situation, there's a lot of other pieces to the world of Office integration you got to worry about, and there's also that comparison piece as well. All right? Now, one other thing I'll show you in reference to the world of the integration stuff. All right. Is I've got the same basic concept, if you will, but this time for the world of PowerPoint. So I'm not so sure how many of you guys actually work in the PowerPoint space, but it's the same concept in the sense that here's my PowerPoint that came in. All right, I'm in PowerPoint. This happens to be 2010, works with 10, 13, and so forth. All right, but the premise is the same in that I want to be able to go off and take that PowerPoint that came in, okay, and it could be one that's already in the system, but you want to compare a PowerPoint going back and forth. Here's a PowerPoint, all right? I take this document. I'm going to go off, and you'll notice a little grid in there, a little chart and so forth, all right? Normal PowerPoint stuff. I'm going to do what we did a few moments ago, where I do, again, same interface as for PowerPoint, no difference, all right? I'm going to go find that document. In this case, I'm going to look for the particular folder, all right? Up pops a list of folders that match. I choose the one I want. Up it pops. Then I say, OK, I want to save this PowerPoint as the latest version of this document here. It's the same basic premise we talked about a few moments ago, where we're saving the latest version of that PowerPoint in the repository. I click Save. All right, I can put some comments on it, and it goes off, and I hit OK, and it saves the document. Now with PowerPoint, as you imagine, doing the diff concept, a little more involved in the sense that you've got two sets of PowerPoint, a little more involved to compare, if you will. But in the financial services world and other people doing presentations, you want to be able to take the two different pieces and put them together. All right? So I'm going to go off, and I'm going to do the same thing, recent documents. You notice the PowerPoint's at the top, because that's the one I just worked on. I hit open, or I hit versions. I take the version that just came in. All right, and I'll grab an earlier version of that document, and then I will hit compare. Now the difference here, okay, is remember when you're dealing with this comparison, now you're comparing two PowerPoints, all right, presentations, if you will. So these two things pop up here. You've got left, right, old, and new, your two PowerPoints, all right? And when it's finished comparing all that stuff, down the left-hand side, you'll notice a couple of things, okay? What you'll notice is here's your two PowerPoints, right? And you'll see a little red, okay, versus the green. Green meaning, hey, this is one that is okay. In other words, it's the same. Red meaning not. I can say hide unchanged slides, and now I only see the different ones. So now I only see the ones that have a difference between the two of them. And what I can do is I can go off and say, okay, which one do I want to keep? All right? So you can easily turn around and say I want, this slide versus the other slide, and you would go through each one of them, and you would say, I want to use the original or the modified, and you would just go through each one, so it tells you which one you selected, all right? And you go through the different pieces. So the idea here is I've got 2 PowerPoint versions, okay, that I've got in the system, all right? And I can figure out, it'll even look in tables, so the numbers have changed, as you can see, okay? So it goes all the way down to the table level of that compare. So you can go off, and you'll select the different ones you want to keep, going through the last 2, little changes down at the bottom. All right, grabbing that one over there as well. Okay, now, once you've got the slides you want to keep from the 2 of them, all right, up top you see where it says Save as New Presentation, because now you've selected, remember, different slides from different presentations. It's now going to save that piece. So now it's just saving that locally, it's doing a whole publish. Yes, sure.
What happens if there was an extra slide, so there wasn't a one-for-one match?
Mm-hmm.
I had a new slide in there, or I deleted the slide in there.
Sure, sure. So if it has an extra slide, what will happen is it'll appear with a slide and then nothing. And the idea is if you choose the one with nothing, it will remove the slide. If you choose the one that has it, it'll take the one that you brought in. So it chooses the addition and a subtraction as something and then nothing. And you'd have to pick which one you either want to delete or keep. So now I go off and I'm going to take that PowerPoint that it automatically built for you, right? Because it automatically published that whole PowerPoint for you. And it saved it, we're saving it now right into the repository. Latest version, I hit save, and the document is saved. Of course, minor or major versions. So the key thing with the PowerPoint side of life is if you're dealing with presentations, you're able to go off and track the differences between the 2, build that new PowerPoint presentation, and then put that right back in the repository, never leaving Office. Okay, that's the key phrase, never leaving Office. Again, the wonderful world of the financial services guys, they're very patient and relaxed and love to learn new interfaces. Okay, so you want to make sure that as much as possible, you can keep them in stuff that they're familiar with. So now, remember how we talked about earlier, we talked about the idea of saying, hey Adam, you want to automatically assign metadata, right? We talked about the idea of assigning metadata automatically in the folders and like that. What I want to show you real quick, okay, and this again is share, all right? I'll bring my mouse over, and I want to show you the idea that says, let's go to a particular site. All right, so I'm going to go to a particular site. I'm going to go to a template site. So remember how we talked about the idea when a new deal is created, all right, or project or case, all right, it's going to grab a set of folders and use those for that particular deal. The idea here is I'm in a template site, and this site is where we store all of those folders. So here are all the folders. So based on various things, whether it's the type of the deal or whose deal it is or whatever, it's going to use these folder structures. Now, what do you take from that? Well, you take away from that if the folder structure changes, all right, the templates, there's no programming. The user can go in here and add other folders as much as they want, alter the folder structure. So as business process changes, these folder structures, okay, can evolve. You can change off what they are. So in other words, if I want to add another folder here, under underwriting, I can add another folder, and I can add as many folders as I want as a user, okay? And I'm able to go off and control what that folder structure looks like. Now, remember we talked about the metadata automatically getting assigned by virtue of the folder, okay? Old world, we were able to say, okay, the name of the folder will be the name of the metadata. And that was kind of easy, right? So you just take the folder name and you make that the metadata. What's the problem with that? The problem is that it is never that clean. It is never you can just say, okay, that's a type, the next folder down is a subtype, and all that other stuff. So reality shows up is you want to be able to, as it says by this action here, manage the inheritance that goes along with that folder. What does that mean? That means based on where I put it, what folder I put it in, I want certain metadata assigned. So when I say manage metadata, this piece pops up. And it says, OK, right now the doc type for that folder is approvals. And the subtype, which is what this is credit committee. All right? So the idea is you can say, for this folder, this is the metadata that will be inherited. All right? That way, the name of that field, be it a type or a subtype, or some places go down even lower. Okay? But the idea is you don't have to worry about making the folder name be the exact same as that type. Does that make sense? All right? So because there's always that piece that when you do the marketing aspects, you just say, oh yeah, folder is same as the doc type, life is good. Then reality shows up. And reality is, the folder levels could go very deep. Sometimes in the middle, it's like Q1, Q3, and then maybe the subtype. So you want to be able to control, okay, what the value is that is inherited when I drop that in. Okay? So then, of course, the next question is, okay, Adam, that's great, and I'm thoroughly excited by what I'm seeing. So everybody try to contain yourself, all right? But how does this drop-down list, get populated, all right? Well, we're using data lists. What else would we use, right? So the idea here is I've got my data list, so I'm going to exit out of this. But all these drop-downs are managed through a data list. So I'm going to go into sites. I'm going to go to an admin site. And when I get to that admin site, I'm going to go into data lists. And then from data lists, I see all of my exciting pieces. So all of those exciting pieces you see here are all those things that we would go off and you would be able to edit and change. So if I grab any of these pieces, right, this is just your normal data list that you'd expect to see in your system. All right, so again, adding and subtracting done by a user. Preferably a user who knows what they're doing. Obviously, you want to control this with security in terms of who can access it. All right? But the idea being, as the business evolves, okay, and we say evolve, new folder structures, new types of deals. When we talk about the metadata inheritance, what values and so forth need to be there, okay, you needn't worry about the idea of having a technical person do that. Okay? There's plenty of technical stuff that we can do later. Okay? The idea here is to turn this over to those business users. Okay? So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. All right? So basically, the idea behind this, as you'll notice, the empowerment piece, there's sort of three key factors that we're dealing with here. Right? The first is user adoption, probably something you might have heard this morning. Okay? We all face that same exciting thing. Trust me, this presentation was done long before this morning's session. All right? And that's where we talk about the office piece. That's where we talk about leaving him in office, allowing him to do that stuff. We talk about the idea of getting documents into the repository. Can't get much easier than emailing things in. Okay? So you want to talk about getting it in there. Then you talk about the idea of being able to find those documents easily, being able to surface those documents to a nice dashlet, quickly be able to access them. You talk about standards with the folders, right? Building out the case folders or deal folders and so forth, and then managing those deal folders by virtue of that folder structure I saw. So as this system continues to be used, okay, at the client, all right, of the various clients, I should say, okay, and their business process changes, then you can say to yourself, no big deal. I can make my own folders. I can add my own metadata. Okay? I don't have to worry about doing all sorts of fancy deal pieces, and it will build out consistently. Okay? And I will tell you, myself, MicroStrategies, we've been doing deal management systems. The first deal management system did was, Jesus, Paul, when was that? Yeah, we don't want to say. Anyway, exactly. Let's just say plus 10 years, doing things for those small companies that don't, I can tell you the ones that aren't around anymore. But it wasn't our fault. But you got, your old companies, your financial services companies, your Merrills, your Morgans, way back when, for those of you who are more familiar, Lehman Brothers, ING Barings, for those of you who know those guys way back when. But we've done solutions for those guys, did way back when. This is sort of an evolution of what didn't work. And what I mean by that is things like the interface they should be in, how easy it is to build that, that deal out, and how easy it is to manage it. Okay? Any other questions? Anybody hungry? I understand they're serving lunch at some point in time. No? Anyone? You want to make a question up? Any comments on the color scheme? I went green this time. I did blue for the last one. You like the color scheme? Okay, good. That's good. So it's apparently a moral imperative that you guys fill out something on the reader thing, or I'll get yelled at, okay? And I get bonused if they're all good. No. But anyway, I appreciate your time. Like I said, the videos of a lot of the demos are on YouTube on the MicroStrategies channel. If you want to see it live, you can come down to our pod. We're more than happy to do the demo there. Other than that, I'll let you guys go enjoy lunch. Thanks, everybody.